right into this world. She has all of the cruelty of a god and none of the responsibility.
Now there's a philosophical question if I've ever heard one. Does God have a responsibility to the world he's created? Short answer from my perspective, no. Now, of course, you may be wondering why I would even ask the question in the first place. Well, my curiosity was piqued from that clip at the beginning of this video, so I thought I'd throw the question and my reasoning for my answer into the ether and see what comes of it. Granted, I'll probably get 0 views from it, but hey, I'm gonna chuck it out there anyway, cause reasons. So, why my answer? It basically stems from the question of where does parental responsibility end and where does personal responsibility begin? If you want the absolute easiest answer to that, the position of parental responsibility on God's part ended when Adam and Eve decided to listen to a talking snake and eat from the one tree God told them not to eat from. Simple as that. Everything else that has happened or will ever happen to humanity rests on our own shoulders as far as responsibility to our own and every other species on this planet. And probably every other species in the cosmos while we're at it. I'm willing to give some leeway here, however, with a hypothetical situation. Supposing that Adam and Eve didn't exist and we got to civilization via evolution. Not that I'm denying evolution exists, just prefacing this next part first. Parental responsibility on God's part ended when the first civilization arose, because it was at that point humanity managed to pull itself out from the jungle and into a town. After that, everything's on us. Now, of course, there are some people out there who will immediately say that God doesn't exist and this is all a pointless video. Or they're going to say that the responsibility does lie with God because of the fact that he not only made us in his image, but that he's allowed all of this evil in the world to perpetuate while he sits back and seemingly does nothing about it. I'll counter that with this. How long is a parent responsible for their child? Minus the laws of individual lands, how long should a parent be responsible for the actions of their children? Should Robert Oppenheimer's parents be responsible for the deaths of millions of Japanese people because he invented the nuke? Should John Moses Browning be responsible for all the mass shootings in the past, 20, 30 years because his development of a bunch of firearms allowed the evolution of them to continue? Should Ray Kroc be responsible for the millions of deaths from health problems people have because they can't just stop eating at McDonald's? Okay, maybe that last one, but you see what I'm getting at. War doesn't need to happen, but people will send hundreds of thousands of people to die for any given reason. I mean, I've seen videos of people breaking into fights because they ran out of steak at a place called Waffle House. Heart disease is the #1 reason people die of health problems, but of course, people just gotta have one more quarter pounder with cheese. And because people with lots of money have very little recourse to not be greedy-ass goblins with a complicit populace, all kinds of pollutants have seeped into the land, air, and sea, and then you wonder why so many people have cancer, among other things. I can also hear some arguments out there saying, what about birth defects? Which of course, when taking a quick search, the top 4 causes for them to happen are genetics, exposure to chemicals, infection, and radiation, which each of those alone is just exposure to the planet itself. What, you thought evolution would mean a negative effect? Take a look at what an appendix is. Humanity has had thousands of years to live, thrive, build, and evolve. And to place the myriad of problems plaguing us on the one who created us is an incredibly weak excuse. We have free will. We just have to start using it for good instead of trying to constantly stab one another in the back. Well, I've ranted long enough. If you stuck with me through this whole thing, I thank you for your time. And I'm curious to see what your answer is to the question at the beginning of this video. Leave it in the comments, or, make a video response and link it. Because I remember when YouTube used to have that as a thing, but for some reason they took it out. Ah well, anywho, you have yourself a good one.